Climber, how do you get better at writing faster in co-writes? When you step into a room with another songwriter, how do you keep from feeling like you're running in slow motion while they're running at warp speed? We're going to help you out with that today, so listen up. Johnny, do that thing.
Welcome to the climb! This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. C.L.I.M.B, creating leverage in the music business. You get it? You get it? You get it? You get what we did there? That's a backstory from my good friend and co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter, who is a hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady A, Joe Nichols, and more. Top 10s in Australia, top 10s on Texas radio. He's got number ones in Southern Gospel. He's got all kinds of stuff. He's nationwide, multi-genre, the man, the myth, the legend. But what I love about Brent is that he helps songwriters like you create leverage. No, he helps songwriters like you turn pro. Which then creates leverage. By revealing how you write like a pro, do business like a pro, and then on the regular, the final component, it's all about relationships. Once you get to be competitive, he hooks you up with those relationships, with artists, with producers, with publishers. On the regular, you get opportunities to be heard, to be seen, and to move forward, to climb that ladder. You can find Brent very easily at songwritingpro.com.
And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. They're helping break artists digitally by identifying new fans through data. So if you're an artist looking to increase your streams, blow up your video views, sell more live show tickets, and get discovered by new fans, TV, and music industry pros, then Daredevil Production can help. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andrew Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That is production, singular, no S, and there is no S because there is no other Johnny D.
Oh, what's happening?
Happy Thanksgiving. I guess it just happened by the time this drops.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Happy leftovers. Happy leftover week.
It will have just happened. Yeah. Yeah. This will be the Tuesday after Thanksgiving.
That's right. That's right. So happy Thanksgiving, Johnny.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to you,
thankful
too.
for you.
I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for you.
So
my favorite part about Thanksgiving is the turkey sandwiches after.
Everyone's just like, can we just skip and just have the leftovers?
Yeah, I've done that on a couple of Thanksgivings, right? I didn't do the family thing, but okay. So here's the thing: like, there's some must-haves, right?
Okay.
Number one, it's got to be Hellmann's mayonnaise. Like, no other mayonnaise is gonna work. Janelle likes friggin' Miracle Whip. She's a mutant. I don't know what's up with that. It divides our household along with what kind of peanut butter is the right kind of peanut butter.
Right.
But Hellmann's mayonnaise and the jellied cranberry sauce. It has to be the jellied cranberry. But you take the turkey, Hellmann's, some cheese, because I'm from Wisconsin, you just put the cheese on it, and turkey, and then like new stuffing, like reheat the stuffing. The bread, you put that on there. A little salt and pepper, the jelly cranberry sauce. Giddy up, man. That is the bomb.
Yeah, I think I look forward to that more than I do like the regular meal. There's a lot of pressure on the regular meal.
Yeah.
You got to get the big oblong, paper plates, because we chuck everything and fill it up, and there's just a lot of pain involved afterwards because you got to get to everything twice. It's the most moist meal of the year, I would say, that and Christmas.
Well, here's to hoping if the turkey's cooked right, and
if not, I still have gravy. I have hopefully the stuffing's not overcooked. I mean, my mother-in-law knows how to cook. My wife knows how to cook. We're all good. My mom knows how to cook. So green bean casserole. You got the cranberry, which is so just like, don't worry. Even if the turkey, which it won't be, it'll be good. But even if that, so you just got enough stuff to drown it in from your other stuff, mashed potatoes, everything. You're gonna, the moisture content of the meal is quite high.
Oh my God! So like I think everybody's probably at this point had a deep fried turkey before, which is like really good because it's like super juicy and it's never dried out. And then the other thing my dad would always do would be he would do a full massive turkey like on the Weber grill.
Oh yeah.
And it's sick, dude. It's sick. Like it's so friggin' good, man. It's so good. It's like so just perfectly done. Takes a while, but that's super moist turkey, like super juicy. It's just amazing. When turkey's done right, it's good.
And let me say just a quick apology to all the people who are completely weirded out by the word moist. I know it's a thing. God
Why
bless
is
you. Thanks
that?
for hanging in
That's
there
a
with us.
thing. That's a
It is a
thing.
thing. It is a thing. And so I used it on purpose.
Moist.
Moist.
So we're gonna learn how to write songs faster today.
That's right. So this came in from a coaching client who asked about it. So if you're one of my Songwriting Pro coaching subscribers, that's a different thing where it gets you a certain amount of like live one-on-one coaching and song feedbacks each month. So that's fun if you want to check that out. Songwritingpro.com/coaching. But it's a coaching client, and so basically, usually 3 times a week, I'll send out like quick little check-ins, videos, like personalized. Hey, checking in on you. Here's a thought. Da 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 da. It's a little value add throughout the week to keep you going.
Nice.
And so this client had messaged me. He was like, hey, wondering for another coaching video if you could talk about how to effectively write lyrics like in an hour when you only have a melody and a concept. It's an area I struggle with being a melody writer around my, just because I have concepts and stuff, but it can be difficult to write like in an hour. And as I get further into my career, this could be more of a sticking point. So can you help me out? And of course, my response was, why limit yourself to an hour? Because sometimes it just takes longer, right?
Yeah.
That was my first question. It's like, why is this important? And he said, well, I was referring to being in the room with a pro, or you have a room booked like at NSAI for only a certain amount of time. You just have like a smaller amount of time to work in.
Oh.
I'm like, okay, that makes sense. It's way too much to get in with like a check-in video. So I thought it would make a good episode. So I did some brainstorming, hit him back with a few points, and thought I'd expand upon them and make an episode for all of our climbers out there to hopefully help them. Thought it'd be a great topic.
Okay, all right. Well, before we get into that, let's take care of a little quick business here.
Uh-huh.
Make sure you join the C.L.I.M.B community at facebook.com/groups/the C.L.I.M.B community. So pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
We want you there, man. Come in. You have to ask to be let in. We let everybody in, unless you look like a hooker or a bot, right? Or like you're going to sell siding.
So if you do look like a hooker or a bot, just DM Johnny. Let him know that you're not.
Yeah.
If you are, you're not listening. So
that's actually happened now, where some guy's like, "Look, he's an older gentleman, and he was like, I
look like a stripper. I know.
Facebook account, so this is just 2 weeks old, but I'm legit." And I was like, "Okay, I let him in." You know what I mean? Because otherwise, he would spot on. He would have looked like this is a bot, this is like a BS account, and they're gonna come and sell how to clean your rug or something like that.
That's funny.
Anyway, that's cool, but. Just be good boys and girls. There's a place to put everything. We want to hear about your new music. That's on Monday. Place it as a comment. We want to hear about your wins on Wednesday. Under the new heights section, that is also a comment. Put the comment there, and you're going to get a lot of love, by the way. I mean, this is an active Facebook group here. This is not a ghost town with like big numbers. You can tell because it doesn't have big numbers. It has small numbers. Like we're 1,500 strong, but we're not like 100,000 strong.
Right. Yeah.
But it's real. They're real people in there. And then on Thursday about your gigs. So there's a place to put everything. The feed is just for everybody, right? Like don't the people that put their gigs on the feed is astonishing to me. It's like, why would you do that? Like these people don't even live by you. You don't even know. Like, you know what I mean? Like
right. We do have a spot for that. It's Gig Alert on Thursday mornings. So you get it before the weekend. You can put your, and then they're welcome. And we want to hear about it because odds are we're not living close enough to go see you, but at least it's in the spot where if we want to go looking through, we can find stuff. No, it's not intrusive.
That's right.
And another thing
what kind of wins we got, by the way?
Yeah, so every Wednesday we post New Heights, which is where we want to hear about your wins for the week that are music related, and we have some good ones this week. Climber Donna McGregor Fant says, "I got a sync on Young Sheldon with a song I co-wrote in 1993." Go on with you, Donna.
I commented on that. Isn't that interesting? Because Young Sheldon would be around that time.
I guess, yeah, it would have been around that time.
Would be like it would have been set in the early 90s when Sheldon was growing up. And so how perfect is that the song was written? Probably sounds like it's from 1993. It's probably perfect for for young Shelton. Good for you.
Way to not forget about an older song, Donna, and
Yeah.
turn a bug into a feature, right? Oh, this sounds like the 90s. Well, guess what? We'll just get put
That's
on a show
exactly
set
what
in
we're
the
looking
90s.
for.
So that's
This is
awesome.
a
That's
weird. This is a weird colored solo cup. This one's pink. We are actually looking for pink
for
solo
pink solo
cups.
cups. Love it. So that's great. And let's see, climber Patrick Adams. At the time of this, he was on his way to La Paz, Mexico.
Yeah.
He's got a it was early morning solo right, and he just recently got an artist cut, and I'm gonna have to look it up. It's not in this feed, but we have talked about it before. And let me see who that is real quick. I think he had sent me. Nope, I don't see it real handy, so I will not waste our time on that. But he just got his like first cut. He's already going on a cruise. Look at that.
Yeah.
But proud of you, Patrick. So good stuff happening there. Let's see. Lorelei Ellis, climber, says, got a sync on a national TV show yesterday. Guess my voice isn't that bad. That is awesome. What show,
Good job,
Lorelei? You need to hop
Lorelei.
back in there and let us know so we can,
That's
you
right.
know, we can
Her
cheer
voice
even
isn't that
louder.
bad. That's funny. She used to make a living doing
Oh,
that.
well, there you go. I guess
I
your
know
voice
Lorelei.
isn't that
She used
bad.
to yeah, she used to tour. Like she did the what do you call it? The she's on the cruises. Like she was a
Oh, yeah.
performer on big cruises for a long time.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Canadian
Very sweet.
writer.
Patrick Adams on a cruise, and she used to make her living on that. We've
There you go.
got a theme going here.
That's right. That's right. And
Yes.
hey, I got some wins. I
Yeah.
added them on there. So number one, like I just got back yesterday from Arizona.
Mhm.
So there's the second annual songwriter festival out there called the Live Life Songwriters Music Festival, right? And
Mhm.
man, David Lee
Lee
Murphy was
Murphy.
the headliner, which was cool. Super cool guy, by the way. Like
I
got
bet.
to meet
Yeah.
him. He's so friggin' down to earth, dude. So cool. Um, and so a couple stories from this. So we had David Lee Murphy. We had man D. Vincent Williams, who wrote. Well, first of all, David Lee Murphy. If you guys don't know who that is, and you're in country, almost like shame on you. Like he's
Yeah.
written, I mean, as an artist, Dust on the Bottle, Party Crowd,
Mhm.
but I mean, Big Green Tractor, Are You Gonna Kiss Me or Not?
Mhm.
Pirate Flag,
Everything's gonna be
uh,
all right with Chesney.
Everything's Gonna Be All Right, The More I Drink for Blake Shelton.
Mhm.
I mean, just hit after hit. He's like way more successful as a songwriter than he was
Yeah.
as an artist, and he was pretty darn successful as an artist with a couple of number ones. I mean, not so
Yeah.
bad, you know what I mean? Like good for like, so that's saying something, you know.
Yeah.
Great, super cool guy. And then D. Vincent Williams, who wrote
I'm moving
Moving
on for
On. Yeah.
Class. Yeah.
Yeah. And Just Get Started Loving You for James Otto, which I
Mhm.
found out was the most spun song of 2008.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows that friggin' song. We had Joe Leathers on there and Barrett
Yeah.
Baber on there, both of whom unfortunately had to bail out at the last minute. God bless him. Barrett Baber got COVID and was
Oh,
just
that's right.
like, dudes, no. He's telling us like a day before. And we're like, really? He's like, yeah. And then next day he woke up with a fever, like,
Mm.
so he couldn't come. And Joe Leathers, God bless, everything's okay. But like his 95-year-old mother-in-law ended up in the ER and
Oh
she
my
wasn't doing
goodness.
good, like with heart palpitations and stuff. And she's like, Johnny, I can't make it. And they were both like so sweet about it. They're so bummed. And
Yeah.
they were missed, you know what I mean? They were missed, but we totally get what happened. And and Joe's mother-in-law is okay now. She's home now.
Good.
So
Well,
it's
that's
all
the
good.
important stuff, and I'm sure Barrett's getting back at it. I
Like
knew he got
great.
COVID, and I'd reached out to him. I didn't think about him not being able to go to the show there, but I'd reached out to him, so I know he's doing better. So
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, it turned out good, man. It was like twice as many people as the year before, which is good.
great.
And so talk about like adding value, right? Here's a value bomb. So
Mhm.
another country artist was Josh Roy, my artist, was on that festival as
Mhm.
well. And one of his buddies, Colin, I forget Colin's last name, but he's also an artist. His parents and him own they rent trailers, like RV trailers, right? Like
Mhm.
fifth wheel trailers, right? Like campers and stuff. The
Mhm.
kind that like are basically like tour buses. I mean, Like
Yeah.
the sides expand out, and but it's a fifth wheel. It's like not even like a hitch thing. It's a fifth wheel thing.
Yeah.
And so he's one of the sponsors of the festival, and he'll bring in a couple trailers. That's for the talent,
Nice.
like we had Emma Zink on there too. We had Lexi Liu on there.
Yeah.
We had some great Nashville up and coming Nashville talent as well. And so one of them was for David Lee Murphy, and so he had left. It's the one he uses for hunting normally. So he likes to hunt. So he had like some of his clothes were still in there, and like a wall of DVDs, and so he ends up hanging out with David Lee Murphy like the whole day, right? Because
Yeah.
David Lee Murphy showed up like noon. He didn't have to play till like 9:30 or 8:30 or something,
Yeah.
He's just hanging out in the trailer, drinking beers, watching old westerns. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like him and his road manager, and they hung out. And so we got to send a prayer out to Mark Chestnut, okay? Because do you remember the festival that Josh played in March that we're going to do again in 2024 called the Party in the Desert Festival? It's up in Wickenburg.
Yeah.
Like Lainey Wilson headlined it. So we're going to do that again. Well, that whole area up there is a venue, and they have regular shows up there. And Mark Chestnut was supposed to play on December 8th, but he's in ICU right now.
Oh.
I don't know what happened, but he's in ICU. So hopefully by the time y'all hear this, he'll be out, or we'll have some news on him. But anyway, so David Lee Murphy's a friend, said, "Hey man, I'm gonna be out here anyway. Like, you want me to hang out? I'll do that show for you, And so David Lee Murphy's gonna do this show. Well, first of all, he heard Josh sing, and he's like, "Man, Josh, why don't you come up and open up for me?" And Josh is like, "All right." So Josh is gonna open the show for David Lee Murphy, which is sick.
Great.
And then David Lee Murphy was like, "Well, hey man, he just told Colin, he's like, man, Colin's another artist, right? You want to come up and hang out for the day?" Like they just became friends,
Yeah.
And I don't know that David Lee spent a lot of time in the Southwest. I mean, obviously he's been through there and everything, but he just really made some comments about how he's going to be spending some time out in Arizona, and just really was loving it,
Yeah.
And from a like a fresh set of eyes kind of thing or something. But anyway, so Colin's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go up and hang up with them." And then of course, Colin's like, "Well, hey, I'll come up there and I'll bring my trailer." He's like, "Oh, awesome!" It's like, add value, get proximity, hit songwriter. You know what I mean? Like it's all good. And he's just a sweetheart of a guy, like really super down to earth and super cool. So shout out to him. And then the second win was and shout out to, by the way, Dennis and Diana Petty from DDP Worldwide, who put on that whole festival. So
Yeah.
that's going to be super cool next year, and it's growing. People are starting to figure it out. And then we finished the music video for Angels Cry. Did I show that to you yet?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, I'll send it to you after we record this.
I saw it in the group, but I haven't had a chance to watch it this morning.
It came out really good, dude.
All right.
Yeah.
Good. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
All right.
We got to get to it. I have one win real quick, is that I have a song called Outlive Your Life that I wrote with Jason Cox and Kenna West, and it's on the current album by Brian Free and Assurance called Meet Me at the Cross. And that album has been nominated for Best Roots Gospel Album for the Grammys for the next
Grammy nom writer.
So I'm happy to have a song on a Grammy-nominated record. And so excited about that. And we'll,
that's
if nothing
sick,
else,
dude. Congratulations.
Thank you. If nothing else, we'll be able to spend like $50 to get a certificate saying that, I participated in either nominated or winning album. So, hey, but that's cool. So that didn't happen every day. I don't,
I don't have a lot. I got a lot of friends. Not a lot of them have Grammys. Some of them do, but not a lot of them.
So, yeah. So anyway, rooting for Brian Free and Assurance. If you're a Grammy voter, go vote for them when the time comes. But anyway, so that was just announced recently. But yeah, let's get into it. All right, how to write lyrics faster. So it came in from a coaching client of mine. And the first thing I want to say is that it just takes as long as it takes. All right, The House That Built Me took several sessions over 8 years or so. The Song of the Year didn't really care about that. Right? They still won Song of the Year. They didn't lose points because it took a while. No.
Yeah.
All that mattered was the end result. So don't feel like you have to finish a lyric or a song all in one session. Don't feel like you have to, just lock it all in an hour or two. Yes, that happens sometimes. a bit barn rewrites and stuff, but that's not the way it has to be. Some songs just take some time to simmer, and that's okay. I've had several sessions where we'll finish the song in a couple hours. Heck, one I was writing with Tammy Rogers from the Steel Drivers and my buddy Nathan Woodard from Daywind Music, and we got together like at 10. The first time that combination of the three of us had written together, and finally when we landed, we started throwing some ideas around, and when we found the one we wanted to write, we wrote it in an hour, and we're done with the song. And we're like, that was so fast, let's go ahead and write another one. And we wrote the next song in like an hour. So we got 2 songs by lunch, and that is super rare, right? But it happens. Other songs I was writing with Aaron Goodvin and Haley Benedict yesterday, and we spent like 4 hours on this thing, and we just need to go back and revisit it. We got another day on to go and work on it. We think we're close. We might need a bridge or just some tweaks and some melodic stuff and just making sure it's tight. And so that's going to be a 2-session song. It takes as long as it takes, and that is okay. So that's the first thing I want to say is don't feel like you have to like get super fast and finish everything like in an hour. You don't have to. Yeah. It's fine. So anyway, so that's the first point. Second point, okay, so if you want to write faster, one of the big things you want to do is you want to study the craft. The faster that you get comfortable with different rhyme patterns and just understanding that there is such a thing as rhyme patterns, right? The faster you're going to be able to adapt to maybe a co-writer's unexpected rhyme scheme that they may bring in. The whole concept of that is like, oh, it's an ABA. It's an ABAB or a AAB CCB. What? It's not going to like blow the top of your head off, and you're not going to be like lost at sea. So you study the craft. And so you understand like, oh, okay, this is how we're doing one of these things. I know what's up. Same with other structure issues like what bridges are for, that pre-choruses are a thing and what they do, that sort of stuff. So just want to study the knowledge, study the craft, study the structure and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Can I just interject here for you? So like I always approached songwriting when I was doing it for my band, like a very organic thing, right? Like we never sat down to write, it was like I'd be farting around with a guitar lick or something, and that's cool, I like the way that sounds, and then that would send us on the scent. We'd have the scent, we'd be on the trail, to get it done. And decidedly unschooled in the craft, to be sure. Yeah. Okay. And I remember reading the book, The Craft of Lyric Writing,
Sheila
Davis. And I was like, oh, there's structures to songs, And all of a sudden I had like probably 10 songs that were taking forever to write because they just weren't sounding right. And the reason that was happening was because I was basically artistically, let's say, trying to shove square blocks into round holes, right? I was trying to make this an ABAB song when really it's an AAA song, right?
Yeah.
Or an ABC song, like understanding that structure, all of a sudden it's like, oh, yeah. So for speed, it's like understanding like what it is you're building first.
Yeah.
And how this is going to work, all of a sudden change, it makes it go faster and you're not trying to put something in there that doesn't belong. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like saying this is a ranch house and we're still stuck on how to build a second floor. Well, there is no second floor. It's a ranch house.
Right.
That's why you're stuck. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And you can just listen to the melodies often and it will tell you kind of where the rhymes want to go. And just so you have that flexibility to go, oh, sounds like rhyme here, sounds like rhyme here. Let's find, those are kind of our little mile markers. And so we know what we're doing. We know the second verse is going to be like that. So I'm not spending time trying to polish a line that can't end in that word because that word so much doesn't rhyme with the, where it's supposed to. It doesn't rhyme like it's supposed to. Oh, I spent 20 minutes trying to hone in this line and I'm aiming toward the wrong mile marker. Structure. And so figuring that stuff out is important. So you can study that stuff. But the thing is, head knowledge isn't nearly as helpful as practical experience. So to write lyrics faster, here's the next point. Write a lot to write faster. Simple, right? But it takes a long time. The more you do it, the more you're going to, keep turning the faucet on and keep the creative flow moving. So the more you're building the creative muscle, the more you write, the more you'll write some clunkers. And you'll see, guess what? The sky didn't fall. Oh, okay, the sky didn't fall. I wrote a clunker. Life goes on. Next song. You'll gain more comfort and more confidence in putting words on paper. That's a big thing. You just keep
Yeah.
doing it.
And you know what you find out too? You find out like what kind of writer you are. Like there are writers that they write maybe 10 songs a year and they're
Mhm,
all like really super quality songs. You know what I
mhm,
mean? And then I think of um gosh, who was it? Kim Tribble,
mhm.
who was like when I first met, he was the first songwriter I met when I first came to town in like '95. You know, big hit
Yeah,
songwriter, a bunch of number ones, and he was like, I'm like, how many songs do you write? You know,
yeah.
uh, uh, in a week, and he's like, no, he's like about 12. I was like, what? Like, he's like, yeah, don't get excited. He goes like most like 95 to 98% of them suck. You
Yeah,
know, he goes, but he knows that's the kind of writer he is. Like, he's like, I need to write 30 piece of crap songs to get to like a really good one. You know what I
mhm,
mean? And so there's different approaches, but it's kind of like again, like shoving square pegs into round holes. Like, what kind of writer are you? You
yeah,
know, like some are very very prolific, but they're not amazing. I mean, Prince was like that, right? Like he's got
mhm,
1,000 songs, I think, in the can or something like that, or
yeah,
500 songs in the can, because he would just write and record, write and record, write and record, write and record, and they weren't all big hits. Like most of them weren't big
right,
hits, or didn't even have the potential to be big hits. This is why they're in the can and not being promoted on the radio. But he
that's right.
wrote them. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
And so I think of the final thing I'll say about this. I just think of that the joke about it's a real story actually about the lady that's sitting at a restaurant and she realizes she's sitting next to like the next table over is Pablo Picasso. And she goes over,
uh,
she's like, "You're Pablo Picasso," when he's eating, which is totally rude, you know.
yeah,
And she's like, "Yes, I am." And she hands him a napkin, and she's like, "Here, well, draw me something." So he's like, "Okay." So he draws something like 5 minutes, and then he goes to hand it back, and she goes to grab it, and he pulls it away. He's like, "Well, it's going to be $500." She's like, $500? It only took you 5 minutes. He's like, "No, it took me my whole life plus that 5 minutes." You know what I mean?
yeah,
So the more that you work, right, the more you sort of build up the odds on the lottery ticket for that banger that comes out in 10
mhm,
minutes, 30 minutes or something where it just
exactly.
happens, you know?
Yeah, it's like what, I heard that Dolly Parton no, Tammy Wynette wrote "Stand by Your Man" in, like, 15 minutes in a laundromat or something,
Yeah.
like
Yep.
crazy, but that was not her first song,
No.
right? So you build
No.
that muscle memory of structure, of, rhyme scheme, all this stuff, you do it, and so it's kinda like, why do athletes I know you've heard this, Johnny, but, maybe it's a defensive back or somebody who's just not doing what his physical capabilities are. He's not living up to his potential. Why? He's thinking too much. He's thinking too
Mhm.
much. He just needs to
Yep.
react. Do it. Well, that's why they do all those reps in practice. So when game time comes, you don't have to think about it so much. You're reacting. And so your
Yep.
reflexes are quicker and it's more, in tune with what you do, right? It's built
Yeah,
in
and think
now.
about it, same as training, like, military training, right?
Mhm,
Like, training in the ER, training in the first
mhm,
responders, cops, like, all that stuff, like, they're taught to go through those drills, go through those drills, go through those drills, and just the muscle memory's there, and then you're not paying attention on, how exactly you're holding whatever it
mhm,
is you're holding, be it a scalpel, a weapon,
yeah,
you already know what to do. It's just a
mhm,
question of okay, what's coming at me, and
yeah,
you're playing the game. Football drills, right? Drills,
mhm,
drills, 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 drills. It's timing. It's all that stuff has to happen. And guess what? Most of those plays don't work out, but the ones that do, man,
yeah.
they're
Well,
pretty
to
damn
say,
nice.
and I'm going to butcher this quote, but it's something like you don't rise to the level of your say aspirations. You rise to the level of your habits, or you fall to the level of your habits.
Yeah,
That's what we end up doing in those situations, those pressure situations, is what are our habits? And so just write a lot. And you're gonna just get faster because you're gonna know where some blind alleys are. You just be like, oh, I know that's a problem. I should probably not set the rhyme as orange.
yeah.
Maybe if she's wearing blue and not orange. Little things
That's
like
right.
that. You know, unless she was eating porridge, maybe, or watching something on
Orange.
Vonage. Was she watching? Anyway, so whatever that is. So the next point is co-write a lot, because there's one thing about just writing by yourself a lot, which is helpful and good and valid, but then co-writing a lot. At some point, you just have to bite the bullet and start writing with other people, even if you think you're slow. Yeah, you'll probably be slow at the beginning if you're slow on your own, and that's fine. And that's fine. You just have to work through it. The only way out is through, as Johnny likes to say. But like you learn from solo writing, you're going to also learn from co-writing. So pay attention, observe how your co-writer overcomes certain creative challenges and how they think. Note how they structure their songs and their thoughts. The only way to get better at it is to do it. And I think one thing you'll learn too is a lot of times people are slow because they'll just be chewing on something in their mind and they won't throw it out because they don't dare to suck yet. And so I'm more of a dare to suck writer, bouncing stuff out, throwing stuff out, that sort of thing. And I have other writers that I work with that's kind of just keeping the ball bouncing. And so there's flow to it. So even if it feels like we're not getting a lot of like final lines, we're moving. It's almost like if you're stuck in traffic. Like I'm one of those guys, I'd rather get off the main road, get on the side road, even if it takes 5 minutes longer to get where I want to go, I'm moving.
Yeah.
Right?
You're moving
Just
forward.
don't make me sit in traffic.
Yeah.
Like, well, if I'm moving, I'm grooving, right?
Nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Momentum.
so that,
I mean, motion creates emotion.
yeah. So, if you're bouncing the ball back and forth, hey, at least, you feel like there's some stuff going, even if there's not a whole lot's ending up on the paper, it still feels like it's moving. There's some writers that are much more internal, and that's like more challenging, right, for me. Because there's a guy I write with, we get good songs, but like he's just working stuff up in his head. And so you're like, I kind of want to throw a line out, but I'm almost worried I'm going to interrupt him or bother him. I'm just, I'm learning like how to sit back, and then he'll just like kick out a verse. And you're like, well, that's good. But it's pretty like, it can freak you out a little bit because you're sitting there really quiet and you're like, am I necessary here? People are different. And so that's another reason to co-writing a lot, finding somebody that matches your creative flow and your rhythm so you can work well together, because not everybody's going to work well together. Not every style is going to mesh. I've been doing this long enough that I can, like, the guy that's really an internal writer, if it had been early on, that would have really freaked me out. Now I'm like, it took me like the first session, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I see what he does. And I talked to some people that write with them, like, oh, that's it. Okay, I got it. Okay.
Now you see what kind of game it is.
Okay. Okay. Now I'm adjusting, okay, let's go. And it can work. So that just comes from what? Experience.
Yeah. Oh, and I'll add to that and say that, for the artists that are out there that are, self-contained, where you write all your own stuff, man, don't be afraid of a co-write. Like, I encourage a co-write. So many times when I've dealt with artists that are like that, and I try to get them to do their first co-write, they're worried about their style being changed or something like that. And I'm like, okay, well, that whole argument that you're making, that whole lens that you're looking through, is based on the idea that somehow you must record these songs.
Yeah.
That these are your songs for your brand. What if they're not? You know what I mean? They don't have to be, right? And there's no etiquette that says if you co-write with somebody, you have to cut that song. And so therefore, no, like when I tell those writers, it's like, look, you can write by yourself. All the stuff you release can be all songs that are written by yourself. But what are you going to learn from a co-writer? Like, what tools are you going to learn? Like, you're going to pick up how to do it better. And inevitably, that's just the icebreaker, right? That gets them, I push them out onto the court. And then when they start playing, all of a sudden they're like, okay, so we've discovered that I'm really, and this is typically the case on these like self-contained writers, they have like amazing voices. Yeah. And so they've never really actually pushed themselves lyrically because they just get such a reaction from singing like the friggin' phone book. Yeah. That, they don't have to, right? They get the desired reaction. Like, everybody bows down at my feet when I start to sing. That's amazing. Well, then when all of a sudden you start putting powerful words to those powerful melodies and that powerful voice, now it takes it up to another level, and then they get it. You know what I mean? And so then all of a sudden they always want to be with somebody else. You know what I mean?
It's like saying, if you were John Mayer and go, well, I have my style, I don't want to mess that up. I mean, there's Eddie Van Halen over there. No way I want to jam with him, because it may change how I do things a little bit. Yeah. You think they Do you think like John Mayer would be like, no, I'm over here, or Prince? Both of
Yeah,
them rest in peace, right? But don't want to jam with that dude playing the sandbox with that guy because that might just change how I do things.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think that's how he would, because art is like evolution. Like you learn and you grow, and this input, it changes what you do, and like don't be scared of that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like, again, it's not like your style's gonna change. You know what I mean?
It
Like
might
it
evolve and grow, but thing is, it's going to be your
yeah.
thing. You're not going to put it out if you don't
It
like it.
doesn't have to at all. Yeah, that's the whole
Right.
thing. Like, you don't have to do a dang thing if you don't want to, but
Mhm.
you're gonna be a better writer the more people that you write with. You're gonna learn how to be a better writer for yourself.
You may figure out what
And
your
and
thing is.
yep, and you're gonna figure out what your thing is, which is the other
Yeah.
thing that's right.
So, another point to writing lyrics faster is find an idea that excites you. Okay. So, your write's going to go better once you find an idea that inspires you, not just one you settle on because you're worried about the clock. Like, oh, we're going an
Song
hour. Let's
title
just
challenge. Sorry.
song title. That's right. So, I had this coach write with a client. So, coach write is, I do this coaching things, and basically, like, they bring me in, like, we got a 2 hour block. You bring the title, the idea, or at least the title, whatever, you bring the dish, and I help cook it up, and we
Mhm,
work on the song together. We actually write. And so we had this coach write with a coaching client of mine, and he brought in another buddy that I've worked with both these guys before, and he brought in a really challenging title. Like, please don't send this into song title challenge, right?
yeah.
But he's like, I don't know. I just thought it needed the Brent thing on it. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's go. This is a deal, right? I'm about to earn my paycheck. So we have a 2 hour coach write book. We spend like an hour and a half bouncing the ball around trying to figure out how to write this clunker of a title. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And then, like, in an hour and a half mark, like, we found the thing, and like, oh, do that. And it ended up changing the title. The title evolved to something else. But within that clunker of a title, at least, that was my opinion on it. We found a thing that was awesome. Wrote the song in 30 minutes.
Wow.
So we spent an hour and a half, so 90 minutes, trying to figure out how to write that title, figured it out, wrote the song in 30 minutes. And it's
You spent
cool. Like,
you spent 90 minutes,
sharpening the sword.
yeah, taping off the room, right?
Yeah.
Covering up the furniture, putting paper down over the
Mhm.
carpet, putting the paint tape on along the trim, and then, yeah, you painted the wall in seconds flat. Like
Yeah. Then you just get out the spray gun, like, there we go,
yeah,
paint the whole room.
giddy up.
And it was challenging. Part of what was challenging was to keep, like, my standards high and go, "Oh gosh, these guys hired me because they want me to come through, and they wanna get a song, or at least a good start on a song." I don't ever, like, promise that we're gonna get a song in 2 hours because that sometimes they just take longer. But, like, I wanna get something going here. So I was feeling some pressure, but having the experience to go, "Just wait for it. Wait for it.
Yeah.
Let's find the thing. Let's no, I'm they if they're gonna do this, I don't want them to just walk away with a mediocre blah. Sometimes if people come in like, here's my hook, here's my idea, I want to write this idea, you just go with it, and that's my job for that
Mhm.
day. But we hung in there, and they were being willing to be patient. Song title challenger for an hour and a half, and then we figured it out, and boom, and we're much happier.
Yeah.
Like, we're like, okay, this is cool. This is worth the time. If you'd told
Yeah.
us 2 hours ago that we'd have this song after 2 hours, we'd been like thrilled.
Mhm.
You just didn't tell us that all that, but it took the whole 2 hours to get there. It's all right.
Yeah.
So find an idea that excites you, and then it's gonna be worth the effort
Mhm.
to do it.
Mhm.
Here's another thing to help you write lyrics faster. Pre-write. So basically, get a head start on your co-writer. I do this often. So it's okay to bring in a partial lyric or complete lyric, even like for myself, if I bring in what I would call a whole lyric, like it has all this stuff, like two verses, chorus, bridge, whatever. Even if I bring in something that complete, I never call it the lyric. I call it a draft lyric, a scratch lyric, because it's a starting point, and that's how I look at it. I'm bringing it to people that are good at what they do. They're going to have something to bring into it. It may have to change because of the melody that they come up with, so it's not written in stone. I don't expect it to be. But bringing in some lyric starts is a great way to move faster in the room because you really have a running start at it. You're starting to look behind some of the corners in the room. Like, to go, oh, here's where we can go in the second verse. I already know where we can go in the second verse. And your co-writer will probably agree because maybe they don't want to do all the work to figure out somewhere else to go if that works, And he's like, all right, I know we're going the first verse, know we're going the second verse, know kind of what the chorus needs to do. Let's go. And so you have a running start, and your co-writer's already like, thank you for you. Already appreciating this.
Yeah. And I, as a producer, like that, I love that too. Like when I'm sending my artists out to people to write with them, like sometimes we need a certain thing, and the writers will always ask me that. You always ask me, like, what do we need anything? Right.
Yeah.
Like, which sounds, don't let the intention take away from your feeling of, or I guess, organic art.
Mm-hmm.
The intention matters, man. I
Yeah.
go back to thinking about Ashley McBride and when she was on her way up and she was with the writer and they were just talking about their dream or whatever. And at that point, her dream was to sing on the Grand Ole Opry.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, well, then we should probably write the song that you're going to sing
Yeah.
on the Grand Ole Opry, like that tells your story. And she was like, okay. And so they wrote it. That was Girl Going Nowhere, not
Yeah.
bad for a girl going nowhere. Like, so such a poignant moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like an artistic moment it was perfect, intentionally made,
Yeah.
like, well, let's tell your story. Like, what's going on? And so they'll ask, like, what do you like? Man, I got some good songs. But I need a big anthem. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I need this, or I need the show opener.
Yeah,
Okay.
or a show opener. What? And so then, a lot of times these writers will be like, well, hey, I got a little something worked up right here. Check it out,
Mm-hmm.
and then it turns out to be, wow, like, yeah, that's good. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, but I appreciate that they put that time into it, in advance to try
Mm-hmm.
to get as much out of that, right? So,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I brought a song start to my buddy Don Amaro. He's on MDM Records in Canada, and this is maybe our first write. So he wasn't my buddy yet, but but my buddy and climber and songwriting pro member Doug Fulkins knows Don, so he hooked us all up, and I brought in a song start, like an idea called "One Tonight" that I thought would be a cool like show opener. We got 10 gallons in the tank. We got $85 in the bank, whatever, but we just get one tonight. Like, let's make the most
Yeah.
of it. Seems like an idea, like that would be a good show opener kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
Well, guess what? Don agreed. He and Doug and I wrote it. He cut it. It was on his, record. He started playing it as a show opener. And actually the record got nominated for a CCMA, like Album of the Year, so it was on that project. And so that was coming in with intention, going, here's a head start on something. And then,
Yeah.
we wrote it together. So it was definitely a group effort. It was not all me by any means, but I just I look at co-writes like a potluck. I want to bring a
Mhm.
good dish or two.
Mhm.
And hopefully people dig it. Hopefully it's the fried chicken of the potluck and it's gone like that and not the congealed salad.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I hate that. Janelle made some of that crap for her daughter's wedding. Their kids love it, and Dennis, who's like a celebrity chef, loves it.
Well,
It's
God
like that
bless them.
green freaking salad with with like pineapple and jello and marshmallows. And I'm like, oh,
I'm
she was making it. I'm like, that looks like it's been through somebody already, baby. It's congealed salad. That's what it is. I'm like,
just the
how's that
name.
salad? That looks like somebody vomited and
Yeah.
they had marshmallows and they had some
It's like the dog it's like Bravo got in the pantry. And here we are 10 minutes later. What are you doing? Cooking up
Oh,
congealed
dude, I
salad.
was like, oh my god, yeah. I mean, like, nobody really likes it, but her kids love it. So much she wanted it, and her daughter
Yeah.
wanted it at her wedding. Oh
So,
my god.
okay, here's sidebar. Here's the thing about songwriting. That's what you want to do. You want to have that moment we just had where you say something that joins a conversation that's already in somebody's head. Like, I don't know if other people think congealed salad is gross, but it's true for me, right?
Yep.
And I threw it out there, and what do you know? It hit
And it
Johnny
reacted.
where he
Yeah.
lives, and there's a connection there.
Yeah.
Feel free to say stuff that is in your head because you're probably not that different than a lot of other people.
Yeah.
And it's going to find people that it resonates with. Little sidebar.
Yeah.
So anyway, to bring in the song start, you need to pre-write. So you want to do your personal song title challenge, which we model a lot on this show. You want to brainstorm ideas by yourself. You want to put in the work on the front end to honor your co-writer and honor the room that you're going to be in. So you literally have a head start on your co-writer. Now you don't want to be hard-headed about writing your title or idea. Like, oh my gosh, I brought this in. We have to write this because it's my safety blanket. It's my whoopee. It's my blankie. No, you may
Mhm.
have to let go of your binky. I know you brought it in. It gives you comfort. You got to write the best idea in the room and not just go like, but I did all this work. Well, good. You can use that for the next write. And so that's an important thing too, is like we want to add value to the room, but sometimes you don't want to steamroll the room. You want to, because that ends up was it subtracting value from the room. If you're
Yeah.
like, this is my idea, we want, and that's cool. If you're Tim McGraw or you're the guy with the record deal or whoever,
Yeah.
then like, yes, okay, I would love that. If you come in with something like, this is what I want to write. I want to write it. We're like, you got the record deal. I'm in the service business. Cool. But if you're just another
Yeah.
writer in the room, that is not your job. You want to bring the dish. You don't want to shove it down people's faces. All right. You want to
Yeah,
present
and
it.
you know what? And have faith where it goes. Like
Mm-hmm.
again, from like a producer perspective. So this is like a parallel, right? A corollary. Like
Mm-hmm.
um, I'll go in with a pretty good idea how I want this song to sound, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the artist is like, I kind of want it in this lane, and so we know what we're gonna do. And I will when all the musicians get together, we're looking at the chart and hey, I think maybe some more right handy stuff from you and what do you think on the drums here? Like I'm asking questions of them on what they're feeling and then what happens is they'll go out in the room and everybody starts messing around. Sometimes a lot last minute tuning
Mm-hmm.
and they're just somebody will start a thing and they'll just start playing with it. And that's the point where I just like back away, right? Because you got like these pros in the room,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just gonna let whatever rabbit hole they go down develop a little bit until I feel like we're hitting a guardrail. And if I
Mm-hmm.
feel like we're hitting a guardrail, then I'll bring it back in. But there's been so many times where because I wasn't overbearing, right, and trying to say this is no, 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 that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. No, no, just it. Yeah, maybe it's wrong for right now, but what's it going to lead to in 30
Yeah.
seconds with the guitar lick that he's working out? He's fleshing out an arrangement or something. Just let them do their thing, right,
Mm-hmm.
and then what once it seems to be fully formed, if I don't like it or if there's some tweaks, I'll come and I'll come and tweak it. But there's something to say about letting that pro on your team, right? Like go
Mm-hmm.
down that rabbit hole a little bit. Like let them go,
Yeah.
see what happens. Because a lot of times you're like, oh, this is. I mean, there's been a couple times, more than a couple times, where like we had a completely different direction in mind, and this other thing was nowhere near the lane we thought it would be in. So
Yeah.
normally it would feel like a guardrail was being hit.
Mm-hmm.
But no, you know what? Like, okay, that's actually cooler than
Yeah.
what we were thinking. So let's go down this. I like this lane instead.
Yeah.
So we jumped the guardrail instead of crashed into it.
Nice.
And that can happen in writing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like you just like don't be that overbearing person. Like throw it out there, let a little bit of that game come back to you.
Yeah. Play in the sandbox. Next
Yeah.
thing to help you write a little bit faster in the room is get some rhyming help. Okay, so a rhyming dictionary, or there are a couple websites. One is rhymezone.com, RHYME zone, ZONE.com, or brhymes.com. So that's B-RHYMES.com, brhymes or rhymezone. Listen, if you're having creative constipation, this might help get things moving. Okay, so I don't think there's any shame in using a rhyming dictionary. The thing is, you're using a rhyming dictionary every time you write. Either it's the one in your head or it's the one on a website or page. But we're all
That's a
going through
good
the
way to put it.
Rolodex. So if
Yeah.
that can help move things faster, don't be ashamed of that, man. I mean, I still use them from time to time. I'll hop on. I use B rhymes mostly if I use one. I often
Mhm.
don't, but sometimes, man, I'll pop one open. Other people will. There's no shame in that game, because you're using a rhyming dictionary, either the one in your head or the one or an external one. I don't care. I'm just trying to write the best song I can. And
Yeah.
that may jog. I like, oh, that would have taken me an extra 3 minutes to like find that, to think of that rhyme. Well, good. That just moves it along that much faster. Or it may pop me in a different direction going, oh, I wouldn't have thought of that word in that context. But now that I'm looking for this in this context, that word, oh, that hits me different. Oh, maybe that is something a little more creative than I would have, my brain would have served up to me. So don't be afraid of that. Here's one that I think is more out of the box, but creative exercises and games. So you can look up word association games online because a lot of writing is like word association, right? Games like Categories or Taboo. I have no economic relationship with these games, but they can help you practice thinking on your feet. So like Categories is like you'll have a category and you have a letter and you got to answer these questions. But cartoon characters starts with S and you're like Sam whatever,
Sylvester the cat.
Sylvester Stallone, like 2 words, right? And so look at you, Johnny, thinking on your feet, and you're like Sylvester Stallone, 2 points for that one. Category,
I'm thinking cartoon characters. I was thinking Sylvester the cat. Right?
Sylvester the cat, Stallone. That's different. Yeah, Sylvester the cat. Yes. So taboo is you're trying to explain anything, but you can't use certain words, and like all those kind of games are just like thinking games. Mm-hmm. They're using the same kind of muscle. So like when we get together at family game night, a lot of times with like Categories, Matt Klein and I are killing people. Yeah. Why? Because we're writers, we're songwriters. Yeah. Like we take it personal, like as a professional level, like we better win this because we got a timer and we got a topic and it has to start with this.
You and Klein are any fun in a family Categories game.
Like, just like let's go. Yeah, let the bodies hit the floor. Let's go.
It's like putting the Little League football team together with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
Now everybody play at full speed. Yeah.
Exactly. It's
rolling over people.
So we take a little more personal maybe. But yeah, so it's working those muscles, but in a way that's, it's a pressure, it's a game night. Whatever. Mm-hmm. Even if you get out those categories and you're doing it by yourself, practicing, it's still just practicing thinking on your feet, certain topic. You got these boxes that you're trying to like, okay, cartoon characters start with M, Mickey Mouse. Great. But thing is, if somebody else has it, right, neither of you get a point because it's too obvious. So now you're trying to go to the next level. What's not as obvious as Mickey Mouse? Well, Minnie Mouse is less obvious. Most people want to say Mickey. I'm going to say Minnie Mouse because I still want the double point, but it's different. And so you're practicing thinking like past the obvious too. Like I think games like that can be a lot of fun. And I never had thought of that as like a way to practice your writing.
Oh, that muscle. Yeah. Yeah.
Until,
because like you get more points for alliteration.
Well, it's all, if you can do, yes, because it's like, okay, cartoon character starts with M. If you say whatever, somebody that, if you say Mickey, well, that's 1 point. But if you say Mickey Mouse, hey, that's 2 points because you got 2 M words in there, for example, on Categories. And so you can get 1 or 2 points, and then whoever gets the most points at the end of the round wins that round or whatever, and they have all these different categories. And so it's like writing because you're like, oh, I want this kind of sound for alliteration or this topic, this, this box. And it's just practicing your word and your word association muscle. And so I think those are fun. Like this is a way that you can get your family and friends to practice your songwriting without them knowing that they're helping you become a better writer because it puts you like in a little bit of a pressure situation to practice that.
Yeah.
Also, another thing, like you can play fill in the blank with existing songs. So you listen to a song, like don't look at the lyrics, like listen long enough that you understand the rhyme scheme, turn it off and try to finish the next line or finish the verse. Mm-hmm. Just to practice. It's almost like a co-write but without somebody really there to judge you. And it's just practicing like, what's that next line going to be? Or if you just listen to the radio, stop it. What's the next line? Oh, could be something like this. That's something you can do to going down the road. And it doesn't matter what line, if it's better or worse, whatever. You're just practicing. You're not in competition with these songs. They're already out. There's different ways of doing that. Get some song lyrics that you're not really familiar with the song. Get a bunch of them, copy, paste the lyric, only do copy and paste the first verse and chorus, and you go, where would I go in the second verse? Okay. And you're just practicing. Then you can go back and maybe compare to the original song, but it's all just practicing, working that muscle. So I think games, exercises, that kind of stuff can just help you in the room be faster, build those muscles. It's really about building the muscle and the confidence to go, I can do this. So you'll throw stuff out because you're more confident that you can do it. Some stuff's going to work, some stuff won't work. That's fine. It's fine. It doesn't matter. But a lot of it is confidence and just getting reps and muscle memory and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fun. So I'm going to have to make the family place categories over Thanksgiving when Matt's in. Another thing is to get good input. So read a lot, listen to a lot of music, pay attention to metaphors and similes and dad jokes or anything that's interesting. Good stuff in, good stuff out. Like I was doing dad jokes before they were called dad jokes. Like back in 7th grade, they just called them corny jokes, corny puns.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
was known for that. Like that's Brent. He's always that. And so part of it, that was way before I started writing songs, but
Mm-hmm.
figuring out that's part of my just coding. Like I
Yeah.
came from the factory apparently with that setting activated, and that's just no fault or credit of my own, right? That's just
Yeah.
how, but I started working it like, oh, that's funny. You get I like how a laugh or a groan or an eye roll or a wince, I don't care as long as I get a response from one of my puns. I don't care
Mm-hmm.
if it's good or bad. Good. You responded. You reacted. That's a win for me. So I started doing that more and just working that thing. And it's funny how that same kind of thing. So it helps my writing because I
Yeah.
always playing with words, word association, puns, all that kind of stuff. So don't be scared of that, but also listen to them, pay attention to them. Anything that's interesting, good stuff in, good stuff out, garbage in, garbage out. Just read, listen, get input so you have a well to draw from. So,
Yeah, man. Like I know, I was talking Michael Garvin one day, a friend of mine, and he big hit songwriter. He wrote "Waiting for Tonight" for J.Lo. He wrote
mhm.
"Don't Give Up on a Good Thing," George Benson. I mean, some big songs.
Yeah.
And um, he watches like TV,
Mhm.
like sitcoms. Like every time he watches a show, like he's just looking for hooks.
Yeah.
Like because the way they write on that. And so he's like sitcom. I mean, you watch sitcom for half an hour and look for hooks. Like you'll find some song
Mhm.
titles in there. And it's super interesting. So, bouncing off of other writers, like you were saying, reading. Well, there's writers on TV too. Like check that out, but look at it through the
Mhm.
lens of like, okay, turn on your closed
Closed
captioning and look at
captioning.
the words. Yeah. And just kind of be
Mhm.
like, oh, I like how that worked together.
The little turn of a
That's
phrase.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it keeps your antennas up, man, and you're looking for stuff to do. So that's
It's like
interesting.
Pokemon Go or scavenger hunt. Just out
Yeah.
anywhere looking for titles,
Yeah. Yeah.
ideas. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
but so those are a lot of ways to hopefully build that muscle so you can move faster in the room. But the big thing is, remember this, it's about emotion. Okay. It's not about who can come up with a clever line or the pun the fastest. It's about telling a story or sharing an emotion that's going to make the listener feel something. It's better to take longer and to connect the heart to the heart than it is to get a bunch of lines that rhyme before you go home for the day. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's ultimately all about emotional connection with the listener. It's about that. It's not, I mean, I remember my first publishing deal at Major Bob. I'd written a song with a friend of mine, and every line was like a dad joke. It was a lighthearted thing called like Where Did I Go Right? So it's a twist on Where
Mm-hmm.
Did I Go Wrong? But every line had some sort of twist of a cliche, something like super clever. They did not care. My publishers
Yeah.
did not care. Because why? Well, it didn't have enough emotion in it. Yeah, I was talking about a thing like where did I go right to find this person I'm in love with or whatever. And it's like, I mean, I remember one line, like a bear swatting honeybees, I caught a buzz off of something sweet. Like every
Mm-hmm.
line was like that. Oh, bear
Mm-hmm.
swatting honeybees, I caught a buzz of something sweet, honey, all that stuff. So like every line was like clever, like that.
Mm.
But it
Too
didn't
clever.
ultimately didn't connect to the heart. It was all like, oh, that's clever. That's dad jokes all the way through.
Yeah.
It just didn't connect to the heart. It didn't work. And then you can have songs that aren't nearly as clever, but man, they just get you in the heart. I mean, I can't
Yeah.
make you love me if you don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's not clever. It
Yeah.
just slays though, because it's so emotional. Or even
Yeah.
songs that are more up. We're not going to take it. No, we're not going to take it. That's not clever,
Yeah.
but it hits an emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a big thing to remember too, is that it's not about just being clever. Like I heard somebody say one time that wordplay still has to be true.
Oh,
Still has to be true. I'm like, what a great way to put it. Clever
that is
still has
okay,
to be
because I
true.
see like a lot of amateur songwriters. That's the rabbit hole they go down, the
Mhm.
clever rabbit hole, right? Like
Yeah.
this one guy, he wanted to record a song. I remember some years ago, and he had like this song is all about whiskeys,
Mhm.
and so he took it as a personal uh, goal
Challenge.
or yeah, a challenge to name as many whiskeys as he could
Mhm.
in the lyric. Now that can be interesting when if you can somehow weave a story around it,
If you can make me care.
Yeah, if you can make otherwise, it's like, I'm a whiskey drinker, and,
Mhm.
like, half the whiskeys on that list are, like, I never even heard of, and I drink, like I like good whiskey, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, "I've never heard of this. What's this? Is that a
Mhm.
whiskey?" Okay, but it just was like a listicle,
Yeah.
and it just didn't work. It didn't make you care. There was no point except for to name the whiskeys and make them rhyme, and
Yeah.
wrong rabbit hole to go down.
Yeah.
Whereas I remember like Craig Curtis when he had Haggard Fan, right?
Mhm.
Which is the song about a blind date. And these two kids get together and they both find out like they're gonna have a great date because as soon as she hops in the truck, she's like, put on some Merle, And so, well, we both love Merle Haggard. And then we sent him like he came in with that song. The hook was killer, but the
Mhm.
story wasn't all there.
Mhm.
And we put him with Jeff Tweel, who wrote a couple of Merle Haggard number ones. And Jeff, like, actually, they ended up taking like I think it was like four to six like number one Merle Haggard song titles and
Mhm.
kind of made the story work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think at first, I can't really remember exactly, but I feel like at first, like he was on that scent and it was like a little too clever, but there wasn't a story.
Wasn't enough heart.
And
Yeah.
yeah, there wasn't any heart, there wasn't any emotion. And then they put like the emotion in it and made that story work with those song titles.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, here's the thing, like if you were a Merle Haggard fan, that song was special.
Yeah.
It was super cool. But if you weren't, like, why are they going to care?
Yeah.
Right? Like why are they maybe they just know Merle Haggard's cool because of a brand, because
Yeah.
people like Eric Church sing about him and they get the feeling of the brand of Merle Haggard.
Mhm.
But if you put a gun to their head, they can't recite a Merle Haggard song.
Yeah.
They're, you know what I mean? So they don't know. And that's where the story has to happen, for them.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it's like an Easter egg to find out a year later, like, oh my God, that's what that was.
Yeah, it's
Those
like
are all Merle
bonus.
Haggard song titles. Duh. Oh,
Yeah.
now I'm in this pile of people over here, the people that get it, right?
Yeah.
The in crowd.
It's like a little extra serotonin hit or something, when you
Yeah.
hit those. But yeah, so I just want to hopefully that's helpful if you're having trouble, like feel like it's so slow in the room. First of all, remember, it's not a race. All right. Like take your time. It's more about the emotion than it is about being clever. You want to connect to the story that's going on in someone's head or their heart already, and take your time. But there are exercises, things you can do in the room and out of the room to help speed things up a little bit, because that is helpful to be able to move faster. It's just another thing, but you can also know when to slow down, and that's some of that is just experience and having confidence that from being in the room and doing it a lot to ultimately get a lot of reps, and you're going to get better at it. If you do want to get better at writing, write like a pro, do business like a pro, connect to the pros, I have a gift for you. It's called 6 Simple Ways to Make Your Songs More Commercial. Maybe knowing some of these options can help you move faster in the room, going, oh yeah, we should do this as an up tempo. We should do this as a positive version versus a negative version. That kind of stuff can help you move more confidently in the room. You can get that at the website songwritingpro.com, or you can go to 6 simpleways.songwritingpro.com. And it's just some of what I've learned in my years of doing this, and it'll help you out as well. So that's songwritingpro.com. That's what I got.
There you go, guys. I love it, man. Well, it brings us to the end of another Killer Climb episode. Make sure you follow the podcast, whatever podcast platform you consume your podcast on. Say podcast again. Podcast. And and make sure you tell a friend about it. Okay, that's the most important thing. Like if you're getting something out of it, let them know why, man. Turn them on to it. We get a lot more. Every day we get more and more pros listen to this, which I find really fulfilling. And join the Climb community, guys. This podcast exists because we want you to win. So keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.